You gonna safely put that ribbon on and...
Yeah, and then, because we gotta do that before we can pull measurements.
Yeah, absolutely.
This week, our ongoing planking adventure brings us to an area of the stern with a challenging amount of twist.
Grabbing the drill.
And later in the episode, Steve takes over on camera and has a day on his own with Arabella.
Yeah, I think like 8 or 10 of those spring clamps would be good for this.
Yeah, I can grab those later today.
Yep.
Today, our work starts with the next starboard plank. Casey was with us for the day to help get it cut out.
So, what we want to do is quite a bit of set move here. There's this knot. Yeah. And what we really need to make sure that we utilize as much as possible is this.
That's super tight.
Finding just the right layout on these planks can be really tricky. We want to avoid putting on graving pieces whenever we can, so we take our time with this part of the process. With the bottom edge figured out and marked, we began taking measurements for the changing bevel.
This one is 4 degrees.
4 degrees?
Yeah. Ooh, that one should be out here. That should be hanging in there. So the next one is 1410. Right on the money. 1410 on the money.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be long. We're going to be able to ditch doing the nibs.
Mm-hmm.
Starting
Yeah.
to definitely turn up.
Cool.
Yeah. Should try to bust the scarves.
Yeah.
Our glue process still seems to be working great, and this scarf, like the others, was all good.
Before we can wrestle on the next couple planks, we have to take the engine beds out. They're just going to be really in the way when it comes to clamping these planks on and fastening them. It's going to be a lot easier with them out of the boat. And the other thing is we need to trim down all of the bolts that the engine beds are held in with so that they're not sticking out quite so far. So this is going to be a great time to do that. I already did it this morning on the starboard side here, so we're going to jump over to the port. I've got the bolts marked already for where we want to cut them, so we'll just take the nuts off, pop the bolts out, take the engine beds out, go trim those off, and leave the engine beds off to the sides. Once we get probably 2, maybe 3 more planks on here, we can put the engine beds back in, and then they can just stay in.
Steve came up with a good use for our metal cutting bandsaw while looking for a way to cut these bronze bolts properly. Putting the arm in stand-up mode made quick work of these. A little grinding to finish them off, and they were ready to go.
Got to go aft a bunch. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As far as I can go.
I'll try twisting that on.
Oh, we gotta climb the noise.
Up forward was looking pretty good, so we started working on the stern. This plank has a lot of shape over a very short distance, so we were really having to work on this one with the clamps and the straps.
Go ahead, you can let go. Oh, you're holding it. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, Jim and Barbara, we sent an email a while ago.
Okay, yeah. That rings a bell.
Don't want to get in your way if we
No,
need
you're-
us to get out. You're good where you are.
Do you mind if I take a couple pictures?
No,
go for it.
So you've come up a little bit. Feel free to go upstairs. There's some stairs in the corner over there. There's a guest log up there.
Got a
Okay.
plank.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to go over the plank. Yep.
Once we finally had a chance to take our hands off the plank and meet with Jim and Barbara for a second, we heard a crack and went over to check it out.
Well, folks, I guess it's time for us to start steaming some planks. And I say that because we just broke one. So unfortunately, as we were putting this plank on, the twist here is getting more and more radical, and the oak isn't totally dry, and oak is very pliable, and it's been taking the bends fine so far. We haven't really had any issues. But as we were cranking this one into its final position, it split. So could be a tiny imperfection in the plank, could be that we were just putting a little too much pressure on it, probably maybe some combination of them. But as we're coming through this real twist here in the stern, it's getting sharper and it's happening more twist in a shorter distance. So I think it's time to do some steaming. So we'll have to take this one off and go back to the scarf a few feet up and scarf on a new piece, which is kind of a pain, but it's kind of our own fault. So we'll get that fixed up and we can get this plank rehung. In the meantime, we can jump out to the other side and work on its mate. Whew! It is gonna be a cold one today. So right now it's 17 degrees inside the boathouse. It's like 15 degrees outside. And they're saying high 30s, low 40s. So this afternoon it won't be too bad, but this morning this is the first bit of like actual cold that we've gotten this winter. It's a good taste of what's to come. So yesterday we tried to put a starboard plank on the boat, and the twist in the stern is getting a bit more severe, and we just pushed it a little too far and cracked the end of the plank. So it looks like we're going to have to do some steaming back there, which isn't a big deal. We were just trying to avoid it if we could, and so far the planks are taking the twist without any problem. So since that cracked a little bit, we got to scarf on a new piece at the end of the plank, which is a little bit of a pain in the butt, but it's not the end of the world. And we'll take the end of that plank and we'll mill it up a bit farther later on and use it for build van material or deck beams or who knows. So it's not a complete loss at all. It's just a bit more work, which, you know, we're used to that. That's what happens when you're learning while you're doing. So the mission today is to get that scarfed up and get a new piece on it so that we can hang it. We're trying to alternate the planks when we put them on the boat. So starboard, port, port, starboard, you know, as we go up. And the idea with that is that as we're wrapping these planks around the boat, we don't want to do it all the time from one side because we could start imparting some forces on the boat. So if we put a plank on one side, then a plank on the other, and work our way up like that so that the first plank of each pair is alternating from side to side, we can spread those forces out and they're a lot less of a worry. So we could cut out this portside plank here and hang it, but the last row of planks, we hung the portside first. So we really want to hang the starboard. And the other kink in the plans today is Alex and Kira have a Friendsgiving with a bunch of their crew that they got to go do. So I am flying solo, and I got to go to Greenfield today to go look at some machinery for us and for South Cargo, and to go pick up a load of 2x4s for crating up all the material to send down to South Cargo. So it is going to be a crazy busy day. I'm going to start off by marking and cutting out this plank for the port side because, like I said, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. The neighbors aren't too far away, and I'm sure if I fired up the thicknesser and the dust collector right now on a Saturday morning, they would not be pleased. And so far, the neighbors have not complained. So if you are our neighbors, thank you so much for not complaining. We're doing our best to keep the noise to business hours. So I'm going to get this plank marked and cut out because the skill saw is a lot less offensive than the thicknesser. By the time I get done with that, it should be like 8 o'clock or so. I can jump on the thicknesser. I'm going to try to get that plank scarfed by lunchtime when I have to run to Greenfield, and we'll see. I've also got a run and gun with the cameras, and as you all know, that is not my forte. That is Alex's speciality. So I'm going to do my best with the 2 GoPros, but please bear with me and understand that this footage was shot by this schmuck, not our pro Alex. All right, I'm going to get to it. Same thing on that one. They're looking good. Cool. Well, that plank's cut out now. I'm gonna wipe all the sawdust off it, give it a coat of linseed oil since it's gonna be a couple days till we start working with it again. And it's now a little after 8 o'clock, so that took me just over an hour. And I can jump over onto the thicknesser and start making some noise. So by the time I'm done with oil on this and everything, it should be like 8:30, 8:45. And I feel like that's an okay hour to start making a lot of noise. So yeah, let's get this thing oiled and go start fixing our mistake from yesterday. Alrighty, time to fix our mistake from yesterday. So I got the scarf right here, and before we cut this, or before I cut this, it's just me today, I'm gonna put this piece of plywood on here and trace around it and make some template marks. And then what this is gonna let us do is it's gonna let us match this end up with this end after we do the scarves and figure all that out. And any of the wood that we remove in the middle, this will show us where that should land so that we can use this piece that we already cut out to pattern and template the replacement piece that we scarf on there. Sorry about Akiva barking in the background. I don't know if you can hear him, but the black walnut tree fruited this year, so it's loaded with nuts, and the squirrels, they literally have a highway packed across our backyard. And they are going to the tree, and they sit in the tree, and they drive Akiva batty. I would have him in here, but with running the planer and stuff, I can't exactly put earmuffs on him. So we listen to him bark. All right, I'm gonna mark this, flip it over, clip it down, cut it with the chainsaw, and then it'll be on to our normal routine of scarfing jig and all of that, and outside to the glue boxes. So this piece will go throw off in the back pile, and I don't know, maybe we'll use it for build bands or something for the interior, but just a couple checks at that end. Other than that, there's a bunch of usable lumber in it. And by freehanding with this with the chainsaw, I should be able to just throw this right in the scarfing jig and go right to the planer and clean that up. And that means I just got to cut a scarf from the other side. So I think I'm on track to get this done before I got to leave to go to Greenfield. We'll see. Alright, so the scarf's cut and the rest of the plank that we're going to keep. And now I got to cut the scarf and the other half here. But I got to go inside and tend to the wood stove and shed a couple layers because it is warming up out here. There's a big difference between 17 and 40. We're supposed to hit 40 today. I think it's, I don't know, my guess would be in the mid 30s, low 40s by now. So yeah, I'll go check on the stove, shed some layers, and then come back and cut the scarf on this plank, and then I think we'll be ready to glue. So, busy, busy.
Pieces and parts, all that's involved is pretty intense.
Yeah, especially for us who have never done it before.
Yeah, but
So
a lot of respect for the old shipbuilders, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's like, holy cow.
Yeah,
Really?
those guys worked hard. No joke. All right. Perfect. That worked out really well. Thank you for your help.
Yeah.
and I need to run.
All right, that's it for today.
I am late.
Uh-oh.
All right, it is 12:30, so I am a half hour behind schedule, but not too shabby. The plank is scarfed, it's all glued up. Had a visitor drop by to donate a couple things for Sail Cargo, and I put him to work helping me with the gluing up the scarves. So that's great, that's done. I gotta call up and let the guy know in Greenfield that I'm a little bit behind, and we'll take the hour drive up there and go look at some machinery, and then stop by and see old Handy Randy and grab some 2x4s from him for crating up all this stuff for Sail Cargo. Well, I'm back from the adventures of looking at machinery, and the heat box here is doing well. So I left 2 bulbs on while we were gone. And it's probably hard to see there, but it's about 70 degrees. It's gonna get colder tonight, so let's add another light, and that should do it. So it's 5 o'clock. Everything went well. I went up and looked at the machines. There is a really old drill press that's super cool. We don't really need it, but I guess a scrapper is coming in like 2 weeks to cut it up, and it just breaks my heart to see a machine like that cut up. So I don't know, maybe we'll go snag it and maybe try to find it a home. I'm not really sure. There's also a big metal brake, and we can have the brake for free. The drill press he wants like 80 bucks for, so they're both basically free. I don't know, we'll have to mull it over. The brake could be cool because we really want to do stainless steel water tanks down the road, and we could bend them up ourselves and maybe weld them, or even just get them bent up and have someone else do the stainless steel welding. I don't know, I gotta think about it. And then I swung by Randy's, grabbed the wood, ran a couple errands, and now it is 5 o'clock and it is dark, and I am starving because I actually skipped lunch today. We were just running around so much. So I'm gonna go in the house and make some dinner and call it a day. Alex will be back tomorrow, and we can get back to some semblance of normal work. Tomorrow we should be able to fit in these 2 planks. This one that I glued up will be dry by about lunchtime, so we can start fitting that, and the other one's ready to go. So we got plenty to keep us busy. All right, with that, have a good evening. I'm gonna have to adjust you here a little bit.
Yeah.
Stay. There we go. Beautiful shot of the gate. Very lovely. That's exactly what we're looking for here.
If Steve were to shoot these videos.
If Steve were to shoot these videos, this is what you would see.